Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 1, overall 551 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and yours truly has been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet for the last 25 years. I hope everyone's doing well on this Saturday, June 21st, 2025. I just got back late last night from the Toronto Argonauts game against Saskatchewan. A crazy ending to that game. Saskatchewan won 39-32. And the next Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself will be this week, and we'll have a lot to talk about as well. But I'm looking forward to my guest this morning. This is her first appearance on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, and her name is Danielle M Smith. She's the current host and creator of the weekly Power 1360 AM and 98.9 FM WGBN on-air show, Good News with Danielle Smith, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And she's also a broadcast journalist, and we're going to bring Danielle on this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Doing okay. I had a late night coming back from Toronto. I was at a pro football game last night, and it was a crazy ending. But I am a huge sports fan, and I just want to say thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on this morning. And how are things in Pittsburgh, PA, and with your radio station?
Well, things are great in Pittsburgh, and the radio station is doing very well. Pittsburgh is where the radio station is located, WGBN, AM 1360, 98.9. The only, I got to put it out there, we are the only African-American owned radio station in the Pittsburgh region.
I did not know that. I gotta get your honest opinion too, Danielle. You've been in the radio industry a long time, and I'm based out of Canada. Do you find that the radio industry in the States is shrinking as well, or do you find it's increasing?
I find it is, I'll say as far as radio stations, local radio stations, they are decreasing. There's not as many local radio stations as it used to be. What's really fueling that, I would say, is the internet, the streaming, the fact that we're on streaming and the internet. I think that's where more people are going towards the streaming, where it's basically, to run a radio station and to be able to meet the demands of, I believe it's like the FCC and all those paperwork and make sure you got everything in line. That costs money. And a lot of people, you could stream and do radio and do all that online. You could do it through the internet, and it's cheaper.
I'm seeing a lot more radio stations in Canada and the States now, with the radio broadcasts now live streaming like I do on these platforms as well.
Yes. There are a few here. I actually live in Tennessee now, but I'm of course, originally from Pittsburgh and still do Pittsburgh radio. There's a few here in Nashville where they'll do radio and also stream, like you said, on YouTube. They're on YouTube. So you can go to the radio station and listen to them on the radio, and then YouTube, they're on YouTube as well.
You're also an account executive with the radio station as well.
Yes. I sell airtime for the radio station. I started selling airtime back in 2007. It was an opportunity for me to make money with the radio station. I started selling airtime. So I go out in the community, make phone calls, tell people who I am, and ask them if they want to advertise on the radio station. And they say yes or they say no. Most of them who say yes, they can either submit to me already produced radio commercial, or I produce and write the commercial myself and record it. But yeah, I sell airtime. So if you're listening to this in Pittsburgh and you need some coverage and you need some commercials, let me know.
What are some challenges of being an account executive? And also, I'm finding this out with my show. I've had a couple of sponsors, but I've lost a few. How difficult it is to get sponsorships nowadays. And I find a lot of people, I prefer a yes or no, but sometimes people say maybe, or they don't get back to you. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
You're right. That is a challenge. I would say the challenge I find with the account executive is getting people to say yes. There are some people that will give you the runaround. They'll say, "Oh, I'm interested. I'll call you back on Monday." And then you wait for them to call Monday. They don't call. So then you call them and they'll say the same thing. "Oh, I'm still interested, but try me on Wednesday." And then they'll give you the runaround. Yeah. So it is still challenging to try to get some people to advertise, because again, like I said, they'll give you the runaround. Other people, if you build a relationship with people and you know that person and you have that relationship, and then you could just call them up and say, "Hey, you know what? We're running a special on the radio station today." Or they have something they want to advertise, and then you just go from there.
I still like going business to business, but nowadays everything's all digital and stuff like that. You're right. My main sponsor right now, a GM dealership in Guelph, where I live. I've known the owner and the family that has run that dealership for over 25 years, and it really does help. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you how much it's changed over the years, and nowadays too, people can't give you a direct answer. I think the tricky part is you want to always follow up, but you don't want to be too aggressive or too pushy with getting people to come aboard your show or radio station.
That's true. That's true. You don't want to be too aggressive, but I at least if I talk to the person initially, maybe they might email me or call me. I will follow up. I'll follow up maybe about 2 or 3 days later. And then I'll follow up again. I'll follow up at least 3 times before I might, I don't know if I want to say if I give up. I don't totally give up on them. I'll just keep following up, but I'll move the time period. It might be a week later or 2 weeks later when I follow up again.
Speaking of live streaming, are your shows currently on the radio station live streamed as well?
They are on the radio station when they play. So I pre-record the show, and when they play back on Fridays at 4:05, they're on the radio, and the radio station does have a live streaming on the website. So if you go to the website, there's a link there that you could press, and then you can hear the live streaming from the website.
How often do you record a show, and what time frame or time slot does it normally air on?
I usually record weekly when I have a guest. So I also work another job, and we can get to that later, but I usually try to do a weekly show, and I pre-record that week. So maybe I didn't do I'm looking at my calendar, but this week I had a guest that was supposed to come on this week, but they didn't make it. So last week's show, I pre-recorded it on a Monday. I pre-record, and I use Zoom. You know, I have a free Zoom account, so I use Zoom to film, to record it, and then I edit it Thursday, and then it broadcasts on that Friday. So that's usually what it is. It takes me maybe about an hour to edit, and I always tell the person that I'm talking to that I don't edit them. All I edit when I put the show together is I edit myself, because I make mistakes. And I have not learned yet how to be a one-hit wonder, meaning I have not learned yet how to talk without stuttering or making a mistake. So I edit that out of the show.
That's one thing I've learned too, and I've learned this from professionals as well. You do make mistakes, but the only way you get better as a professional and any career is to learn from your mistakes. And when you try to be perfect, that's when mistakes happen even more.
That's true. That is so true. So true.
What are some challenges with booking guests?
Challenges with booking guests, Chris. Could be the runaround thing where they're not available. That has happened a few times where people are not really available. So I usually, when I send emails or I talk to people on the phone, I'll ask them, well, when are you available? When can I just get, all I need is, I tell them the show on the radio is 15 minutes. So I just really need 15 minutes of your time that you can take away that I can talk with you. If it runs longer than 15 minutes, I have a SoundCloud account. I take the interviews and I upload them to SoundCloud. So the challenges may be just timing, just trying to get that person down for 15 minutes to do the interview.
And in my career doing this, I've also learned to have a plan B and plan C, because I've had some guests in the past where they've had emergencies or something come up and they weren't able to come on. So I've learned how to do solo shows as well. For those people, Danielle, that are watching the show live stream or on audio right now, and they're looking to get into the radio industry or even the live stream industry, what advice would you give to them?
Well, if you're in college, the advice that I would give is to also look into a minor. If you major in journalism and communications, look into a minor. Why I would give a college student that advice? Because from my experience, when I first got out of college, I didn't get a job right away. I didn't land a job at a radio station like the next month or the next week. I worked outside of journalism for many years before I broke into the industry. So that's what I would say with a college student. Learn another field or learn another job, just so if you get out of college and you don't get the job right away. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That would be my advice for a college student. So like I said, when I got out of college, I didn't get a job right away. When I graduated in 2003, you know what year I landed a job in this industry? Was 2010. Now, I went to WGBN in 2005. So I was in radio, but a paid position in radio didn't come to 2010. So I had to do something in between that time. I worked for Alcoa Incorporated. I worked for Alcoa prior to graduating. And then at one time, Alcoa let us go. They let me go in like 2007. They outsourced our jobs overseas. And then I got another job with the Welfare to Work program. So that would be my advice for college students. Pick a major and a minor, just in case. You never know what's going to happen in this industry, because it's kind of shifty. The journalism industry is kind of shifty. I have a friend back home, and he told me, if you haven't gotten fired in radio, you haven't been in it long enough. And he's right. At one point, wherever you work in the radio industry, one of these stations is going to fire you one day, and you got to find another job. The other advice that I would give to people that's already in the industry like me is to keep at it. Keep doing it. Pray about it and keep doing it. I don't care how many people tell you you can't do this, because people told me the same thing. Keep doing it. Keep at it. Keep keep perfecting your gift, because this industry, to do radio, is a gift. I don't look at it as a talent. I look at it as a gift. The word says every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. So you got a gift to do this. What you're doing, Chris. This is a gift. So I say keep perfecting that gift. Keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. Like I said, I don't care how many people tell you you can't do this. Oh, yes, you can. I'm an example of somebody who people said, oh, you won't be able to get in the industry. You won't get no job. Oh, yes, I did. The Lord blessed me. I got a job in it. So you could do the same thing too. Yes.
And that's what I love about this show, is the storytelling aspect and learning aspect. And every guest that comes on here, I learn something new. And I'm 53 years old. I'm self-taught. I didn't go to school for journalism broadcasting. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've had a lot of success, but I've also had setbacks. I don't look at no as a failure. I look at it as a temporary setback. And obviously, I've had some skeptics and naysayers. And I have a passion for this. And just talking to you, Danielle, I can tell how passionate you are. And I realize too how cutthroat and how tough this business can be at times as well. But this is something I have a passion for, like yourself.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. It can be cutthroat. Another advice I would give people is to network. Get out there and find somebody that's already in the industry, that have worked in the industry, and ask them, how'd you get in the industry? How'd you break into the industry? What advice can you give me to get into the industry? Because that's what I did. I'll go back to high school. When I was in high school, I attended the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation Urban Journalism Workshop. And through that workshop, I met a whole bunch of people, Black journalists in Pittsburgh. And I'm friends with those folks today. Through college, I was a college member of the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation. And as a professional, I'm a member of the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation. So get to know some people in your field of interest.
Connection and networking is huge. And Danielle, even when I don't do this show virtually, I apologize, Danielle. That was a technical difficulty. I apologize. I'm back on the air.
Oh, okay, no problem.
And that's go ahead.
I was gonna say I know how technology works.
It works great. It's great, but sometimes things happen, and I've learned the show's gotta go on. And thank you for understanding there. But yeah, connections and networking are huge. And I'm old school. I still have paper business cards. So when I'm out doing any kind of freelance media work, I'm always talking to people and letting them know about my business and my talk show.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, you got to. You got to. Okay, you have a question here for me?
Yes, I did. Where did you attend school, and did you have any early influences and mentors, and when did you develop an interest for the radio industry and journalism?
Okay, so I went to college at Point Park. Well, it was college then, but now they're a university now. But I went to Point Park University in Pittsburgh. I graduated from there 2003 with a bachelor's of arts in broadcasting. Some of my early influences and mentors were my folks that I know from the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation. So at the time when I was in high school and did the PBMF workshop, there was Mr. Chris Moore, who was my mentor for many years. Chris Moore, Dr. Irv Dyer, who I still work with today in a different organization, Dr. Lamont Jones, Olga George, all these folks I know from the workshop. Jean Bryant, she's passed on, but Jean Bryant, Edwin Akai, I can go on and on. Those are my folks when I was in college and still when I got out of college. Now, once I started at the radio station, WGBN Radio in Pittsburgh, my mentor, he has passed on, but Bishop Lauren E. Mann. He was the pastor of the church that I attended in Pittsburgh, Pentecostal Temple, Church of God in Christ, and he became my mentor. He was the general manager of the radio station at the time. And I just got to give a little shout out to Bishop Mann because he actually, when I started at the radio station in 2005, my interest was to do news. And he was a retired broadcaster. He has a career in Pittsburgh in journalism, over 30 years in Pittsburgh. And he was running the radio station in 2005, general manager. And I said, I want to do news. And he said, we don't do news. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do news? You've been in the business all this time. He said, I retired. He said, but this is a 24-hour gospel radio station. But he said, I'm going to teach you what you need to know about news. And he did just that. So he was my mentor up until 2021. He was my mentor. He started in 2005 at the radio station, and then he passed in 2021. But he was my mentor.
How much have you improved as a journalist and a radio host over the years?
Oh, that's a good question, Chris. I'm improving every day. I would say that I have improved, and every day I'm learning something new, and every day I'm improving every day. Yeah, that's good.
What's a couple of words to describe yourself?
I would say that I'm fun. I would say that I'm knowledgeable, and what would be the other word? I guess I don't know. I don't want to say analytical, but I like to analyze things. So I don't know what word I want to use for that one, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't think about it. I'll come back to that question. It's funny because I'm usually the one that's doing the interviewing. So I'm not used to doing interviews. I'm not used to people interviewing me because I'm usually on the other side interviewing somebody else.
I get that same feeling when I'm getting guest appearances on other podcast live streaming shows. And my former career was in security. I did that for over 2 decades. And I think that helped me prepare myself for this industry, because as a security guard, you have to learn how to think on your feet. You have to learn to listen and talk. And I learned this very early on in this show, and I'm sure you can relate too. Listening is just as important, if not more important, when you talk to your guests.
Yes, listening is very important because you want to hear what they have to say, and then you can build a question off of what they said. Yeah, listening is very important.
When I first started this 5 years ago, it was all scripted and everything. And I had a couple professional broadcasters come on my show, and they just gave me some feedback. And they said, it's okay to write points and notes down, but talk to your guests like you're having a natural conversation at a coffee shop or at a mall. And it makes for better conversation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I get that compliment sometimes from the people I interview. They say, "Oh, you really make me feel comfortable." And I always tell them, "This is radio. Nobody sees you. They don't know what you look like. So just, like I'm talking to you, you're talking to me like at a coffee shop. Just talk like we're friends."
I want to get your feedback here. I've done a little camera work on the TV side. What are some of the biggest differences between TV and radio?
Since I haven't worked in the TV industry, I did a TV show some years ago in Pittsburgh, but I haven't actually worked in the industry. It's funny because when I first said I wanted to do journalism, I wanted to be a TV reporter. It just didn't work out, so I do radio. I would say maybe the difference would be timing. With TV, if you ever watch television and they do like news reports, when they do those news reports, it might take them 10 or 15 minutes to get all that information together. But when they go live, it's no more than 2 minutes. It's actually less than maybe 2 minutes for them to do that report. In radio, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say in radio, it's also quick. So the same thing in TV is the same thing in radio. It's quick. You got to get that sound bite. You got to put the story together quick. But I do reports for the other company that I work for, and our stories are like no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But that might be too much time for television. You got to get it in like a minute and a half. So I think it's timing is the difference. And of course, you're visual on TV than you are on radio, because you're just, people are listening to you in a car, but TV, you actually see it. And then radio, you kind of got to be more descriptive to build a picture of somebody in the car so they can kind of see what's going on. But TV, you just see it. Yeah.
It's TV. It's kind of shrunk or condensed, and it's a quicker pace than radio.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
Yeah, it is. It's faster. You got to be on your job. You got to get that story over there and tell what happened, or at least tell a portion of what happened. And I believe it's a minute and a half.
Can you tell us a little bit about your radio stations and also about your talk show called Good News with Danielle Smith?
Yeah, like I said, the gospel radio station, Pittsburgh Power, or WGBN. We are, like I said before, we are the only Black-owned or African-American-owned inspirational gospel radio station in Pittsburgh. We stream on 1360 AM, 98.9 FM. There's multiple shows on there, ministry shows. There are health shows, as well as my show, Good News with Danielle Smith. We also have some national shows on there. So Dorinda Clark Cole, she's a gospel artist. She streams a show on there as well. We also do some of that streaming and program for national, like syndicated shows. And then my show, Good News with Danielle Smith. I've been doing Good News since when I first started Good News, it was on the television. I had started it with PCTV 21 in Pittsburgh. I don't know where you live, but do you have like a local TV station where it's like a community-based TV station?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Pittsburgh had one of those stations. And when I first launched Good News, I launched it on PCTV 21 in Pittsburgh. And then 2018, I launched Good News on the radio. And I've been doing it ever since 2018. And what I mainly do is I interview people that are making a positive impact in their community. What I will say is the Lord gave me the idea back really in 2007. The Lord put it on my heart to do Good News with Danielle Smith. And I didn't know how to do it. And not that I didn't know how to do it, because I was already doing a show on the radio station. I just didn't, I kind of like heard that I was supposed to do Good News in 2007. And I kind of like put it on the back burner because I wanted to pursue news. Remember, I'm a news person. That was 2007. And then over the years, God kept reminding me, what about Good News? What about Good News? And I had a friend that was on PCTV 21, and I had called her up and I said, hey, God keeps reminding me about Good News, because I had told her about it some years ago. And I said, but I want to launch it on TV. So she invited me to PCTV 21 with her, and I watched her do her show. And she did a ministry show, and she did a TV show where she like talked and did like a Bible study. And then I signed up. So I launched it in 2017. I did 6 months as a community producer with PCTV 21 in Pittsburgh. Then I launched it in, sorry, excuse me. And then I launched it in 2018 on the radio. I did a radio first, and I've been on radio ever since. And the gospel of Jesus Christ is the good news. So when I first come on the show, I invite people to sign up if they're interested in being interviewed. And one of the things that I say is, hey, you know, the gospel of Jesus Christ is the good news, which it is. So I don't preach. Some people ask me, this is funny. Some guy asked me one time, he sent me a message on LinkedIn, and he said, well, what kind of show is Good News? And I said, I tell good news stories. And he said, well, are you a preacher? I said, no, I'm not a preacher. I just go to the community of Pittsburgh, all over the country, and I interview people that are making a positive impact in their community, and I tell their story in 15 minutes. I tell their story in 15 minutes, and I just want to know, what are you doing good? How are you making a positive impact? I've interviewed people from music artists to authors to teachers. I interviewed a teacher that I basically grew up with, a young lady I grew up with, Tracy Johns. She wrote a book. She's a teacher now. She wrote a book, and I saw that she had posted on Facebook about writing a book, and I sent her a message. I said, hey, I need to interview you. So I interviewed her about her book. So I've interviewed a plethora of people, a whole bunch of people. Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people over the years.
Since starting Good News with Danielle Smith, do you find there has been more shows similar coming out on radio stations in your area?
In my area for Pittsburgh, there are other shows with maybe like not the same format or not the same like name like Good News, but there are some other shows in Pittsburgh that highlight people doing good things. Yeah. Because there's a young lady, I don't know if she's still doing her show, but I know Kiki in Pittsburgh was doing What's Good in the Hood. So I got to look and see if she's still doing her show. But she was doing I think it's called What's Good in the Hood or something like that. I'll get the proper name. But Kiki from Whammo was doing a show like that. And then I have a cousin who does like the Shine Awards type of show. Her and her husband, they have these awards that they give to young people, and they were doing a radio show. So yeah, there are some other shows in Pittsburgh that highlight what's going on good in the neighborhood. Yes.
Growing up in the 70s and 80s, I found there was more good news shows. And I know it was a different time, but I just find now in 2025, in this era, we've been conditioned to always bad news. And I know bad news sells better ratings on TV and radio stations. And I wanted to ask you this as well. How much of an impact has your show had on the community in the region? And I don't want to put you on the spot with favorite, but what have been some of your most memorable stories and interviews you've done so far?
Well, I think the show has made a wonderful impact in Pittsburgh and across the country because, again, I get the opportunity to talk to people all over. They could be in Pittsburgh, they could be in Philadelphia, they could be in Nashville, they could be in South Carolina, but I get to talk to people all over the country about what they're doing good. So I think it's made a great impact. And when I know that it's made a good impact is when I see people in the grocery store that say they listen to me. I've had that happen a few times in the grocery store in Pittsburgh where somebody will say, "Hey, I heard you on the radio this week," or you sound really good. Of course, I know the person, but they're like, "Hey, I heard you on the radio." And they like the show and they think it's a good concept of the show. So I would say it's made a positive impact. Memorable stories. Oh, wow. There's so many of them. Like I said, I've interviewed people from all over the country. So let me see if I could think of a memorable story. I interviewed a friend of mine that I knew from high school. Her name is Nicole McGuire. I interviewed her about maybe 2 years ago. And I think it was memorable because she expressed what she went through with domestic violence when I did the story. And I had no idea that was something that she experienced. But she was able to talk with me and to tell me her story and how overcoming and conquering domestic violence has helped her to this day to become the person that she is. But I had no idea that she had went through all this. But it was a wonderful interview. It's on my SoundCloud account. But I would say that's recently one of the most memorable interviews I've had was with her. Mm-hmm.
How can my audience here in Ontario and internationally find you on SoundCloud and social media and your website?
Okay, so my SoundCloud account is soundcloud.com. It's like / Danielle M Smith. So if you go into SoundCloud, you could just type in Danielle M Smith and the account should come up because it's under my name and not under the show name. Also on LinkedIn under just Danielle M Smith. Facebook. Now I have a personal Facebook account, which is Danielle M Smith. Now, Danielle, of course, we all know Danielle is a common name, but you got to look for my picture on there. But I'm on Facebook as Danielle M Smith. And then I'm gonna go to my Instagram and tell you what it is on Instagram. It is still my name. Okay, it is. Yeah. So Instagram, at that Danielle M Smith 73 on Instagram. Yeah.
Are you on Blue Sky yet by any chance?
I am not on Blue Sky. I have heard about Blue Sky, but I am not on Blue Sky because I'm actually still on Twitter.
Same here.
I don't use Twitter as often as I used to use Twitter, but I'm on Twitter at Pretty Blue 73 is what I'm on Twitter as. And you know what? I've been on Twitter since 2009, and I was on Twitter before I got on Facebook. Or wait, I'm sorry, they don't call it. I'm sorry, they don't call it Twitter no more. It's called X. Yeah,
I still call it Twitter X.
Yeah, so I'm on X, and I've been on X since 2009.
I use that platform just to promote my guests and my media work and stay out of the political side of it as well. Have to ask you this as a broadcast journalist and a radio host. How important is branding and marketing?
Oh, branding and marketing is very important. It's very important because you want people to know who you are. So you have to market and brand your product. And social media is the perfect way to do it because there's really some costs involved in it, but it's not a lot of costs. It's not like you calling up a radio station and getting a radio commercial or going on television and asking them how much are the rates for me to do a TV commercial. You can create your own commercial, create your own little billboard, or you could do it through Canva, your own flyer, and you could just post that on social media and tag some people in it, or just put it on social media. It's very important that you keep your brand out there and update your stuff. You know what? I'm the one that's talking and giving advice. I need to go back and update my website. I have a website and that information on there is old. I need to update my website. That's something I got to do real quick. But I keep my social media up to date. So when I interview people for good news, and like I said, during the day, I work for a public news service where I do news interviews for them. I post them on LinkedIn. So I have a LinkedIn account and I post my interviews and everything on LinkedIn. I post on Facebook. When I got time, I post on Instagram, and then X. I post on X as well. So yeah, you got to keep your brand out there. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And 5 years ago, somebody told me, you want to get into radio, you got to open up your settings to public instead of private, which I did. And then they mentioned TikTok, and I'm like, oh, TikTok's for teenage high school kids. No way. And I joined TikTok 5 years ago, and I learned how to cut promos for my guests and myself, and learned how to create content there. And last night I posted something on TikTok from the football game. The police kind of arrested somebody over a football. It was something ridiculous. And I just posted a little video clip of it, and it went viral. And it's just amazing how sometimes on social media, you post something, you don't think it'll do well, and then all of a sudden it can go viral.
Well, you're going to have to show me TikTok because I'm not on TikTok.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'd be happy.
Yeah, you got to show it to me because I don't know anything about TikTok. That I'm not on. That's it, probably about the only social media. And then you said there's a new one called Blue Sky.
Blue Sky that I just joined. It's like what Twitter X used to be before the gentleman took over X.
Okay, yeah, I'm not on Blue Sky either, so you'll have to show me that as well.
The only negative things about social media is there's a lot of political stuff, a lot of hatred and stuff. If you use social media as a good tool, which I have, it can help you get into a new career. It's just like anything else.
Yeah, social media is great. And like you said, if you use it for the positive and not the negative, it's a great tool, and it's a great opportunity because you can reach people from all over the country outside of where you live. You know, you can reach people all over, and they can see your show, and they can see you, and they can network with you, and you can network with them. So yeah, I like social media. When it first came out, I wasn't on it. It took me like maybe about a year to get used to it, but I use it almost every day now, so I like it.
And all my guests, I've had guests on from 7 different countries around the world. And one thing I've learned as a talk show host, and I'm sure you have as well, when you have guests on from different cities or states or countries, to know the time zones as well.
Yeah, time zone as well. Yeah. Yep. I'm in Central Time, but I'm used to Eastern time from Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Next question I wanted to ask you, Danielle, is can you just tell us about your role with WGBN as a host of Hot or Not, which was designed to highlight local and national gospel artists, and some of the gospel artists that you interviewed in your career?
Oh, okay. So Hot or Not, I started in 2009 with WGBN, and it was a show that spotlighted new and upcoming gospel and Christian music artists. So when the show first came on, we would put it out there and ask people to submit their music. And I would interview them, and we would play the music on the radio. And it was kind of like a make it or break it show. So we would ask people to call into the station or put on the internet, because we had like this thing on the internet where you can type it in, and we would ask people to tell us if the song was hot or not. And then the audience would call in, and if it got enough hot votes, and then it would go into the rotation of Hot or Not. If it didn't, it just didn't go into the rotation. But I interviewed several Pittsburgh artists, gospel artists in Pittsburgh and across the country, featuring their songs. Yeah, plenty of. And then when I would interview like a national person on Hot or Not, we would do a different show. Sorry. When I interviewed a national person on Hot or Not, it would be a different show. So I'll give you an example. I interviewed like Fred Hammond. He's a well-known gospel singer. So when I interviewed him, he was coming to Pittsburgh. He was doing a concert. I linked up with the people who is his like manager, road manager or manager, and they arranged the interview. So I interviewed Fred Hammond. So of course, we didn't have nobody calling in and say if Fred Hammond's song is hot or not, because Fred Hammond's already hot. He's a national recording artist. So we just played the song, and of course, people just listened to it. And then I did an interview with him. So we would just do the hot or not version of the show for new and upcoming artists. But if they already made it, hey, they already hot. So I've interviewed, like I said, Fred Hammond. I've interviewed Kirk Franklin, gospel artist Kirk Franklin. Marette Brown Clark. When I first started the show, Marette Brown Clark had came out with a song, and she was on it with Anthony Brown. Interviewed her. The list goes on and on. List goes on and on.
In your opinion, who are some of the top gospel singers out there right now, male and female? And what are your thoughts on Elvis Presley? Are you a big fan of Elvis Presley, who did some gospel singing too?
Well, that's funny because I know that Elvis, they said he did gospel, but I never listened to his music. I mean, I'm kind of young, but I do know who Elvis is, but I never listened to his music as a gospel person. So I'm not sure. I can't really give you any information on that. But some of the top gospel artists, again, was like Fred Hammond, John P. Key, Kirk Franklin, the Clark sisters. I did interview Dorinda Clark Cole a few years ago. They came to Pittsburgh, and I interviewed Dorinda Clark Cole from the Clark sisters. Marvin Winans, the Winans singers, they're big time singers as well. I haven't gotten the opportunity to interview the Winans, but I did meet Marvin Winans when he came to my church one time. So the Winans, who else is there? There's Jonathan McReynolds is a top gospel artist, I would say. Jacqueline Carr, she's a top gospel artist. Oh, CeCe Winans. Okay, I said the Winans, but CeCe Winans. Donnie McClurkin. Now, I met Donnie McClurkin years ago when he came to Pittsburgh, but I didn't get an opportunity to interview him yet. Tasha Cobbs Leonard. Oh, I can go on and on. There's all kind of gospel artists. Oh, what's my other girls? Yolanda Adams. Yeah, Yolanda Adams. Yeah, Shirley. I met Shirley Caesar years ago, and I have actually interviewed Shirley before back in the day. Marvin Sapp. I've interviewed Marvin Sapp a few times when I worked for Sheridan Broadcasting. There's a lot. There's a whole bunch of wonderful I think all gospel singers are great, but just to name a few that I've interviewed. Yeah.
In your opinion, what makes a very good gospel singer?
Your lifestyle. I think what makes a good gospel singer is your the lifestyle that you live. Because although you sing gospel music, do you live the lifestyle of a gospel music artist? Because it has to be. I'll put it this way: what makes a good gospel artist? Now I told you I got some water. I'm sorry about that. My opinion of what makes a good gospel artist is a person that lives the lifestyle that they sing about. Yeah. Because you have first of all, you have to have a relationship with God. Because how can you sing about God if you don't have a relationship with him? Because you got to have some type of relationship with Jesus, with God, to sing about him. And if you got that relationship, you can sing about the God that you got a relationship with, and it reflects in your music. And then all that adds up to what kind of lifestyle are you living while you're singing the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that's just my opinion.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know I don't have any musical ability. I tried karaoke once. Do you have any musical ability?
I don't play the piano or anything like that, but I used to sing back in the day. Yeah, I haven't done it in years, so I don't even know if I still can sing, but Yeah, years ago I used to sing in the choir at church. Yeah. I've always had the voice to sing. I just haven't really embarked on using that talent. Maybe I'll get back to it. Since I'm in Music City, I probably should be singing in Music City, but I'll think about it.
One thing about music too, it can be a therapy, and it can bring back good memories and sad memories as too. For some people it's therapy, just music, any kind of music, it can change their outlook and their mindset.
Yeah, music is healing. It brings about healing. It brings about change. I love music. I don't know what the world would be like if there was no music. I love different types of music. Gospel, of course, is my first love. It's gospel music, but I do like R&B as long as it's clean R&B. I like jazz music. I like different types of music, but gospel, of course, is my first love of music. Is gospel music.
I like Motown music from the 60s, even though I wasn't born there. I like classic rock from the 70s and 80s. Anything that's positive, upbeat music.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, positive, upbeat. Now, like back in the day, rap artists was good, but I don't know about these new people today. So I can't say that I know rappers because I don't I don't know too many rappers today.
Danielle, what overall thoughts on your experience as a journalist for 7 years with the American Urban Radio Networks and Sheridan community and interviewing political figures, celebrities, and notable activists?
I had a great experience at Sheridan Broadcasting, American Urban Radio Networks. Yeah, I did. I worked for them for 7 years from April, was it February 2010 to August of 2017. But I would say I had a great experience working for them. It was my first opportunity, like I said, working in journalism where I was in a paid position. I worked as an audio journalist for them. So I was in a paid position to do interviews. And I also was like a board operator running the board during the sports and the news. But I love that experience. Now, as sometimes I was like looking for another job. So at one point, I had gotten to the point where I wanted to move on from Sheridan Broadcasting and go to work for somebody else because I wanted to work full time in the business and I was only able to work part time with them. But I think overall, it was a great opportunity. It was a good experience. And I think what made it a really great opportunity overall is not, first of all, that the Lord blessed me to get the opportunity, but the people that I work with. The people I work with, very professional folks. They were very great people, and they helped me to get to a certain level in journalism, from management, Ty Miller, to, Tanae Kroom. She was the news director when I got there. Tanae hired me, and Tanae and I go way back because of the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation. And the people that I met at American Urban Radio Network, Sheridan Broadcasting, I had knew some of them from high school when I went through the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation Urban Journalism Workshop. So it was a great experience. It was like working with family there because I got that great opportunity. And yeah, I interviewed political folks, celebrities, and notable activists for Sheridan Broadcasting, American Urban Radio Networks.
How important is it? I know I'm wearing a hat right now, but how important is it to wear many hats in the radio and the media industry these days?
I think it's very important because it gives you an opportunity to do something different. It gives you an opportunity to learn a different job. I would put it that way. So when I worked at Sheridan, I did audio journalism. That was one aspect of radio. And then at the radio station, WGBN, I did something totally different. I did account executive. I was an account executive and a personality. But Sheridan, I did something different there. So yeah, I wore 3 different hats at that time. Now, fast forward to 2025, I'm still wearing 3 different hats because I'm still a personality on WGBN. I still do sales for WGBN. And then my daytime job is I work for a public news service as a producer reporter for them. So yeah, I still wear those different hats.
How important is volunteering and internships in the media industry?
Oh, volunteering is very important. One of the things that I did when I was in Pittsburgh is I did a lot of, I guess you could say, volunteer work. And I did a lot of MCing. People would ask me to come and MC their events. Sometimes I did it as a paid MC, and other times you might as well say I did it as a volunteer. But I would go to churches across the Pittsburgh area and different facilities and MC and speak at different events. So I think it's very important.
How would you describe yourself as an MC?
I think I'm pretty good. I always ask God for help. It's funny. Someone asked me to MC something some years ago, and I was telling my coworker, "Oh, I got an event this weekend," and I said, "And I'm so nervous." And she said, "Well, why are you nervous?" And I said, "I don't even know." I'm like, I'm so used to doing this, but I would always get nervous before I would get up to talk with people. But I would always pray and say, "Lord, help me to do my best today." But I enjoyed MCing. I did all types of events, like I said, at churches, community events, MC 2 events at the August Wilson Center for African American Culture, downtown Pittsburgh. So yeah, I still enjoy MCing. Yeah.
Do you have any rituals before an MC event? And what's the biggest audience you've spoken in front of so far?
Oh, wow. Was it August Wilson? Might have been at the August Wilson. It was either at the August Wilson Center when I did an event there for someone. And I did another event one time in New Kensington at a church, and I had that on my website. And this church was opening. It was a church that was, I think they were having an opening service, and they were doing a concert. And a friend of mine invited me to the concert to just talk to MC. And I think that was a very big crowd of folks at that church in New Kensington. I'm not sure how many people was there, but the church was packed. And I have another friend who, when he came out with his very first CD, and actually he lives here, Frederick Dukes Jr. He's a gospel singer as well. He lives here in Nashville, but he's from Pittsburgh. He invited me to his first CD release. And that was a big crowd. There was a lot of folks there as well. Mm-hmm.
As an MC public speaker, how important is eye contact and observational skills?
Very, very important. You got to make eye contact with the person that you're talking to. Don't be looking down and looking around. Make eye contact. Is very important. Yeah. It makes you look like you're paying attention. Well, you should be paying attention, but you should be paying attention and making that eye contact is very important.
And be yourself as well.
Yeah, of course, be yourself. I like to be myself. Yeah.
Any career, be yourself, because people can tell when you're not being authentic.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
Danielle, do you have time for a few more quick questions? Are you
okay sure. Yeah. I have time. Okay. Yep.
Okay, I wanted to ask you this. What was it like to interview current California Congresswoman and former U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, and what makes Kamala such a great politician, in your opinion?
Yeah, I interviewed her when I worked with Sheridan Broadcasting, and I think it was 2012. So Obama was running for his second term. I believe Obama was running for his second term, and I interviewed her, and she was a congressperson at the time. And she was talking about what was going on, of course, in California. I got to find that interview. She was talking about what was going on in California. And then I asked her about Obama running for office again. And she said, "Oh, well, I already know Obama's going to be the president," is what she said. "I know Obama will be the president." She was very cordial. She was very nice. I enjoyed interviewing her. And when she became the vice president, I thought that was wonderful because, hey, I had gotten the opportunity to interview her prior to that. And then when she was running for president, I actually thought that she was going to win. I think she's a wonderful woman. Just to meet her over the phone and the opportunity I had to interview her. She's very educated. She knows her stuff and she's qualified. She was qualified to be the president. So I was shocked when she didn't win. I know you said we weren't going to talk about politics, but yeah, I was very surprised that she didn't get the opportunity to become the president. I think, but you know what? I look at it this way. She still has another opportunity to become the president because the sitting president, who's currently has the office, he can't run again. I know he wants to say that he could change the Constitution and stay in office forever, but no, it's not possible for him to stay in office forever. So when he gets out, she does have another opportunity to run again, and I'm all for her. I'm all for her becoming the president. I think it's time for America to look for a woman to be the president, because we women are just as qualified as a man to be the president. So
I totally agree. Even though I'm Canadian, I think most of my fellow Canadians would have agreed with what you just said there. And hopefully she will run again in the next election. And that's one person I would like to one day have on my show, because I really am a big fan of hers. And I'm hoping one day she is the president of the United States.
yeah, I think I think she could make it. I'll say that I think she can make it. Yep.
Can you just tell us about winning the Robert L. Van Media Award for Radio Public Affairs, featured story about Sister Friends providing feminine care products for homeless women?
Okay, yeah, I interviewed Tamara, what was her name? Abney at the time. And she runs her own organization called Sister Friends, and they provide feminine care products to homeless women. And I had actually initially saw the story in the New Pittsburgh Courier, Pittsburgh's newspaper, Pittsburgh's Black-owned paper in Pittsburgh, the New Pittsburgh Courier. They had covered the story about her in the Courier. And, you know, I'm looking for story ideas. And I read the article, and then I contacted her. And I said I was interested in interviewing her for Sheridan Broadcasting, American Urban Radio Networks. And she said, fine. So I did the interview with her. She sent me a nice little picture of herself. And it's posted. It might still be posted on American Urban Radio Network's website, but I know I have it posted. And I submitted it for a Robert L. Van Media Award. When I spoke earlier about the Pittsburgh Black Media Federation, when I was in the urban journalism workshop, the PBMF does the PBMF does the Robert L. Van Media Awards. And I submitted the story back in 2017. I submitted the story. Now, I did the story in 2016, but I submitted it in 2017. And they don't tell you ahead of time that you're going to win. Everybody is invited to come to the award ceremony. And when they called my name, for that category, it brought up the category, and it said each person that was in that category. And then they said, but the award goes to Danielle. Oh my God. I almost fell out when they said it went to Danielle Smith. I was like, oh my gosh, like only God could work it out for me to have interviewed her for that story and for it to actually win that award. And the people that were giving out the awards, like I know them. Nobody told me that I won. And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, I think it was a blessing. And it was a good story because she talked about the organization itself. And one of the things that she said that I thought was very important, and I'll note that, is she said, when you think about homeless women, most people give homeless people or women like clothing, or they'll give them a blanket, or they'll give them a hat. But she said, homeless women still have a menstrual cycle. She said, and one of the things I wanted to do for them is to provide to them these products because they need these products while they're out there. And I thought that was amazing. The fact that, and very creative idea to think of providing homeless women these products. And when she showed me the bag, she has a little brown paper bag, and her label was on the front of the paper bag. And she said, we just put the products in the bags, and we go out when they go out on the streets, and they give the women the products. So I thought that was amazing, first of all, and creative to be able to help women out in that way.
How satisfying is it knowing that you can help people with this platform? And where do you get some of your other inspirations for stories?
I think it's wonderful to be the voice for the voiceless. I hear people say that all the time, that it's a job of a journalist to be the voice of the voices. I'm sorry. I hear people say all the time, it's the job of the journalist to be the voice for the voiceless, people who may not always have a voice. But the opportunity that we have in this business is to give them a voice and to give them the opportunity. And one of the things that I think is awesome about this job is when I talk to people, the first thing they'll say is, I thank you for this opportunity. And I'll say that to you. I thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk to people, because they don't always get that opportunity. So I love it. I love this business. This is what I'm doing, what I always told people I was going to do. If you would have asked me in elementary school, back then when I was in elementary school and people asked me what I was going to do, I told them I was going to be a journalist. I told them I was going to be a writer. In middle school, I told people I was going to be a writer. When I got to high school and they asked me what I was going to do, I said, I'm going to be a journalist. Yeah. And I'm doing what I always said I was going to do. And the Lord has blessed me to do it. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for the Lord. Yeah.
What makes a good writer these days? What makes a good writer these days? And by the way, I just started this new career in the radio media at the age of 47. So I'm just trying to prove to people that age is just a number as well.
Yeah. Now let me answer your other question. You said, how do I get story ideas?
Yes.
When I worked at Sheridan, we got a lot of story ideas from public relations people. Public relations people kept in contact with us at Sheridan. And that's how we did a lot of stories. Or like I said, I would get them out of the newspaper. For Hot or Not, or not Hot or Not, well, for the show that I'm doing with the radio station, Good News, I have a public relations person that I'm friends with in Philadelphia. She gives me a lot of ideas. Her name is Vanessa Lloyd Scumbody. She's out of Philadelphia. And she runs her own organization, and she has a lot of authors for the organization that she runs. So she helps me get a lot of my guests as well. And matter of fact, if you go to my SoundCloud account, I interviewed her a few weeks ago about her Juneteenth event that she was having. So I get a lot of authors. If you listen to any of my shows on there where I've interviewed authors, I got them from her. And then just knowing people in the community is another way that I get ideas, is just knowing people in the community and reaching out to do the interview. Also, I get a lot of emails from record labels, people who are like promoters that promote artists, and they send me a lot of emails for artists. So I reach out to them. If I need an artist to interview an artist, I reach out to the promoters and the people that send me those emails as well. For public news service, I do news for them. How I get story ideas, I look in the newspaper, or I look online or on the internet and see what's going on in Pittsburgh. And I also cover Tennessee for them. So I see what's going on in Tennessee. And then I just cover the story from there. That's where I get my idea. The internet, I'm going to just say the internet is where I get a lot of my story ideas.
To be honest, some of mine come from going on the GO train to Toronto, because I am observational. And one thing I've learned about being in media too, or in the radio and talk show, you have to be approachable and you have to be willing to approach people. And I've been able to do that. Got to get your thoughts before we wrap this show up in a couple of minutes, Danielle.
Okay, sure.
What are your thoughts on the shrinking newspaper industry? And is it going to be viable in the future at all, or is everything going to go all digital?
It is shrinking. I had to interview some years ago with a professor. Matter of fact, I interviewed the director of communications at Point Park, where I graduated from. And he said at Point Park, now when I went to Point Park years ago, they taught radio, television, and newspaper. There was marketing and communications. But one of the things that he told me is that the colleges had to more like adhere to the times and change things around. So not just teaching people how to write for a newspaper, but he was saying that they also teach the students the digital form of journalism. So he says they have a class, they have a whole curriculum where you can learn digital journalism. So I think as far as newspapers is concerned, if newspapers don't carry on and keep going on, I think what newspapers will do is they'll go to a digital form of the paper instead of actually printing out a paper, and you'll have the opportunity to go online and look at the paper. So, for example, our paper in Pittsburgh, there's plenty of papers in Pittsburgh, but everybody knows about the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. With the Post-Gazette, you could buy the Post-Gazette on, you can go to John Eagles in Pittsburgh and buy the Post-Gazette, but they also have an online version of the Post-Gazette. And they limit how many stories you can read on their online, but it's still online. And same here with the Tennessean. The Tennessean, you could buy the Tennessean in person, or you can go online and look at the articles online. The Pittsburgh Courier, same way, you could buy the paper or you could go online. So I think that's what's going to happen with newspaper in the future. If they don't print the newspaper out every day, and then it will be an online version that you can go online and read the paper.
Danielle, I started doing digital writing about 3 years ago, and I'm still learning. For those people that are watching this live stream or on audio, including myself, what, in your opinion, makes a good writer?
Oh, wow. What makes a good writer? Whew, Lord, that's a good question. I would say, in my opinion, what makes a good writer is, like you said earlier, a good listener. Number one, you have to listen. Number one, you have to think about, of course, what you're going to write about. And of course, you got to pray about it. Oh, I do all that. I think what makes a good writer is a good listener makes a good writer. Yeah. And I have this book, and I was telling someone. Oh, go ahead.
No, I can wait. Sorry.
Oh, I was telling one of my coworkers about this book the other day. This helped me in college, and it's the Associated Press Style Book and Libel Manual. And I had this in college. And when we were writing in college, they told us to use this to help you to become a better writer. So it has all these different ways of writing and writing things for the AP style book. And I was telling one of my coworkers about this yesterday. And she said, well, you need to get the new one because there's one out in 2025. This one is from college and it's from 1995. So this is also the Associated Press style book has helped me to become a better writer as well.
I need to get the 2025 version because I find the more I write, the more I improve. But I also I wanted to get your thoughts. How important is to be objective in your articles and stories?
Well, you have to be if it's news. So if it's news that you're reporting, you have to be objective, and you got to tell the second side of the story. There's always one side of the story of whoever it is you're talking to, but you also got to you have to have balance. So when I work for public news service, they always say there needs to be balance in the story. So you got to tell the side of the story of the person you're talking to, and then you got to get the other side of the story. That's what makes it a news story. Yeah. And of course, we don't use our opinion. Of course, we can't express our opinion in news. That's the difference of what I like about what I do for WGBN, because I do good news, but I can also put my opinion into my show. Yeah, I can also kind of put my opinion in my show, but I don't do that when I write a news story.
Any plans in the future of writing your own book about your career?
I haven't actually thought about it. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. So maybe one day I'll sit down and have enough time to actually write a book about it. Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah.
Danielle, as we wrap up this show, I do this with all my guests. What are some fun facts or a fun fact about Danielle M Smith and the city of Pittsburgh, and what makes the city and state such a great place to live and work in?
Oh, wow. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. So what I think is great about the city of Pittsburgh, it's a friendly city. There's great people that live in the city of Pittsburgh. Of course, my family, of course, is still there. There's great attractions in the city of Pittsburgh. And there's a lot of growth now in the city of Pittsburgh, where the city is moving forward with a lot of great ideas. So I think it's a great place to live. And we have great sports teams. So like I said, I'm not a sports person, but I do know that we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and we have 6 rings. My dad always says that.
I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, the Eagles. That's right. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, but Pittsburgh has the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they have won the Super Bowl for six times. According to my dad, they've won 6 times and they got 6 rings. But we got great sports teams in Pittsburgh, the hockey team, the football team. We don't have a basketball team, but we have good sports teams in Pittsburgh. There's great attractions in Pittsburgh. Growing up as a kid, we used to go to Kennywood Park. So that was a great attraction growing up as a child, going to Kennywood Park. So Pittsburgh is where my family is. Matter of fact, I'll be in Pittsburgh the week of the 4th of July. I'm going to Pittsburgh to see my family in Pittsburgh the week of the 4th of July. And it is my city. I love my city. And one of the things that people say is great about Pittsburgh, if you ever go to Pittsburgh and you come through the Fort Pitt tunnels, when you get through the Fort Pitt tunnels, you can see downtown Pittsburgh and that little triangle there. Like, I guess it's the Golden Triangle. I guess you can call it that. But you come out of the Fort Pitt tunnels and it's like a wonderful world coming into Pittsburgh and seeing downtown Pittsburgh and the point and the fountain that's downtown in downtown Pittsburgh.
Favorite food in Pittsburgh. And when I was in Pittsburgh 10 years ago for a Pirates game, I love the city. I didn't know this, but Pittsburgh has the 2nd most bridges after Italy, the country of Italy in the world.
Yes, a city of bridges. There are bridges all over Pittsburgh. Most of the downtown bridges are yellow. There is one that is, I think it's blue, which is the Smithfield Street Bridge. It's a different color, but most of the bridges in Pittsburgh crossing from the south side to the north side, or the north side to, I guess, the Strip District north side, are all yellow bridges. What was the other question you said?
Favorite food in Pittsburgh.
Oh, you know what I have not been able to find here in Tennessee is a good hoagie. Now, they call them subs everywhere else, but in Pittsburgh, we call it a hoagie. We call it a hoagie. It's a sandwich, like a sub, like the things that they make at Subway or whatever. But there's different shops and different little mom and pop places in Pittsburgh where you can get a good hoagie. And I have not found a good hoagie here yet. Now there's like Jersey Mike's and people like that. They make a hoagie, but they're not like a hometown hoagie. And that's funny because I haven't found a place here yet that makes a really hometown hoagie. Yeah, that's what we call them, hoagie. It's like a sub. That's like Pittsburgh. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What would be your favorite Pittsburgh dessert?
Favorite Pittsburgh dessert is a pretzel salad. There's a salad. It's a pretzel salad. It's sweet. My brother, one of my brother friends. Oh no, my brother. One of my nephew's mothers made it years ago for us for, I think it was Thanksgiving or something. And it has like a pretzels is on the bottom. It has strawberries, and then it has like whipped cream. And my sister made one last year here, but that's like my favorite dessert. Besides cheesecake, it would be that pretzel salad. Yeah, the pretzel salad. I got to figure out how to make the pretzel salad myself. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Danielle, I apologize. I'm going to talk to StreamYard. I use StreamYard. I've never had this issue before, so I apologize. I was just hoping to wrap up the show with you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
It looks like I'm going to have to finish this on audio. So, you know, this in the radio industry too. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time today and your patience. And hopefully, I'll get this issue with StreamYard resolved for my next show as well.
No problem. And again, Chris, thank you so much for this opportunity. Like I said, I'm usually the person that's doing the interviews. So I hope I did okay.
You did. It's the guests that make a great show. And I just want to make all my guests feel comfortable on my show. And I want to, before we wrap this up, how can my audience follow you again on social media, your website, and your next show, and maybe your next guest you're working on Good News with Danielle Smith?
My next show I'm working on is I'm trying to get an interview with a young lady about her son. Cecilia Coleman is her name, and I'm trying to get an interview with her and her son. Her son went to prison when he was very young. He was like 16 or 17 years old. He went to prison. He just recently got released from prison, and I want to talk with her about her son and the fact that he went to jail. She said he was innocent all these years and that he served some years in prison. And so that's my next show I'm working on. I got to get her to get her son so that we could talk with him. She sent me a video the other day with her son, and that he's now working as a paralegal downtown Pittsburgh. And she said from one side to the other side, he's working as a paralegal. But I'm going to talk with her about her son and him getting out of prison and how all that went. So that's my next show I'm working on for Good News. How people can follow me on social media. So like I said, I'm on Facebook as Danielle M Smith. That's my personal account. And then for the show is called Good News with Danielle Smith. So on Facebook, the fan page is just Good News with Danielle Smith. And then I'm on Instagram as Danielle M Smith 73 is my Instagram. I'm still on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm still on there as just Pretty Blue 73. And it shows my name as well on Twitter. That's what if you can see that, that's what I look like on Twitter.
I'm gonna find you on Twitter X.
Okay, yeah, on X, I'm on there as Pretty Blue 73, and then I got the logo Good News with Danielle Smith on there. And then where else am I at? Oh wow, I'm on so many things. LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is just my name, Danielle M Smith on LinkedIn. And for LinkedIn, that's where I really post most of my interviews. So when I'm interviewing anybody for WGBN or for Public News Service, I post everything on LinkedIn, and it's just Danielle M Smith. If you want to listen to me on a Friday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, it's WGBN's website, and that's WGBNradio.com is the radio station. Or www.wgbnradio.com. Now, also, this is something that TuneIn, if you go to the App Store in your phone and get TuneIn or Simple Radio, you can also listen to WGBN on there. So those are apps. It's TuneIn, Simple Radio, they're on those as well. And you could just find WGBN on there and you can listen on your phone. If you're, of course, out of Pittsburgh. And if you're in Pittsburgh, of course, you can listen on the radio, or you can still listen on the website, or you could just listen on the app. But that's WGBN in Pittsburgh. So I think that's all my social medias. I do have a website. But like I said, I need to update my website, but it's DanielleMSmith.com is my website. And I do need to go in there and update the information.
And if you ever need help on TikTok again, starting on there, please feel free to reach out to me as well.
Okay. And then what else was I going to say? I got one more thing Instagram. Okay. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Oh, SoundCloud. Okay, I cannot forget about my SoundCloud. I'm also on SoundCloud. Now, this is where I actually post all my interviews. So after I do my good news interviews, I post them on SoundCloud, and it's soundcloud.com. I'm going to go to it while I'm talking to you so I can get the proper thing. Let me find it. Let's see what my SoundCloud is so I can get the name right. Okay, so it's soundcloud.com/Danielle-M-Smith. Now, I believe if you just go into SoundCloud and you type in Danielle Smith, you should be able to find it. But it says it has my picture, and then it just says Danielle Smith, and it has my name. But I post all my interviews on SoundCloud. If you have your phone and you have the app for SoundCloud, you should be able to listen to it for free and not have to set up an account. But all those interviews are on SoundCloud as well. So that's where I can be found online.
We'll subscribe. And finally, it's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question for me before we wrap this up?
A question for you about you, or a question for you about me?
Just a question about myself, about the host.
Okay, so the question I would ask to the host is, why did you get in this business? So you said that, first of all, you said you didn't go to college for this, but what made you decide to get into the radio business?
I guess just before the pandemic in 2020, I was doing some volunteer work with a local basketball team. They asked me to do some camera work, which I'd never done in my life. They showed me what I needed to do. At the end of the game, they actually paid me for my work, and the camera work led to my podcasting, which led to my radio show and doing freelance media work. So just getting a taste of broadcasting from volunteering led to this.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And before we go, I got to give a shout out to my parents.
Go ahead. Yes.
I got to give a shout out to my parents because they put up with me all these years with this journalism thing. Because I told them when I was a kid that I was going to be a journalist. And many years ago, when I was a kid, my dad used to work for the Pittsburgh Press and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, our newspapers in Pittsburgh. He worked in the maintenance department, and he used to bring the paper home. And when he used to bring the paper home, I used to read the newspaper. So I've been reading the newspaper since I was like yay high. But he used to bring the newspaper home, and I don't know if you remember the newspaper. They used to put the funnies in the newspaper.
Yes,
so like
the cartoons.
The cartoon section. Yeah. He and my mother, of course, would look at the newspaper, and he would give us the funny section, the cartoons. And when I would get done with the cartoons, I would read the newspaper. So I don't think he knows, but I think he was instrumental in me becoming a journalist because he always gave me the paper. And then my mom, years ago, when she used to pick him up from work, he also used to work for Pepsi Cola in Pittsburgh. She used to go to pick him up from work, and it used to be late at night, and she used to listen to the radio in the car. And there was a guy that used to come on there and would do a talk show. I can't remember his name. I think his first name was Bruce, but I got to look up and see what the rest of his name was. But there was a talk show my mother used to listen to years ago on the radio. And that also sparked my interest in radio, was listening in the car with my mom on the radio many years ago. So I don't know if they know it, but I think the two of them together sparked my interest in journalism. Oh, Bruce Williams. I just looked him up. Bruce Williams. And you know who Bruce Williams is? He used to have a radio show on the radio, and he used to broadcast in Pittsburgh. And my mother used to it was like a talk show. People would call in and he would give them advice. But Bruce Williams, my early days of thinking about radio was listening to Bruce Williams on the radio in Pittsburgh. So I gotta give a shout out to my parents. They probably don't know it, but they were instrumental in me becoming a journalist.
Have you also thought one day, Danielle, to do maybe your own weekly podcast show as well?
Well, I kind of call my good news a podcast, even though it doesn't seem like it's a podcast. It's more like a radio show, but I kind of call it a podcast, even though it's not. One day when I actually have the time, what you do with the live and you're on YouTube and streaming, that's where I'd like to do with Good News. I'd like to do it that way as a streaming type of podcast, but I just got to carve out the time in my week to see if I can do it.
And one thing, being a talk show host and doing freelance media work, it's time consuming. And even though I do this show from home, people don't realize how much work I put on. The on air stuff is actually the easiest part. It's the producing, booking guests, promoting that is the real work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. You got to get the guests, you got to produce the guests, you got to do it. But the thing about you, see, you're doing it live. So you don't do the editing part. So I do the pre-record so I can go back and edit myself. Yeah.
At the end of the show, I can edit the video, and then I edit it into 30, 40-second reels and clips because, with our attention spans nowadays, people want things really quick.
Okay, so what kind of editing software do you use? And we need to work together because I always wanted to know how to do video editing, and I still don't know how to do that either.
You know how I learned it? I learned it a year and a half ago on Christmas Day. I know Christmas Day out of all the days, and I spent 8 hours learning how to use it. Video AI. I can send you the link to what I use, and I've used it for a year and a half, and it's been a great tool because people nowadays, have shorter attention spans, and it took me a little while, but I don't mind. I enjoy it now. It's like anything, Danielle. The more you do of something, the more comfortable and the more you improve on it.
Yeah, we'll have to work together. Maybe we can do like a Zoom or something. You can show me how to use it because that's something I've always wanted to learn how to do, and I have yet taken the time out to learn it. So
Yes.
I appreciate your help with that, as well as getting on these other social media websites like TikTok you mentioned.
Yes, and it's been a really good tool, and I'm doing this in the radio and media industry the unconventional way, but I've had a lot of support from a lot of guests and people in the media industry, and it's opened my mind too, because I used to have my perceptions of people, and when you meet people in person, they're not what they're like on TV and radio. So I always now learn whoever you interview, whoever you talk to, always keep an open mind.
Yeah, that's right. You do have to keep an open mind to everybody that you interview. That is true.
Danielle, I want to say thank you so much for giving us over an hour of your time and for your patience with a couple of technical issues with StreamYard. Never normally happens, but it does happen. But I want to say thank you for your time, for being a great guest, and continued success in your career. And I will definitely, I've already added your website to my list of favorites, and I will look for you on SoundCloud.
Okay, wonderful. Again, thank you so much for taking out the time to have me do this interview today. I certainly thank you for your time and asking me to be a guest because, like I said, I'm not usually the one that's interviewed. I'm usually the one doing the interviews. So I do thank you so much for this opportunity. This was a great opportunity, and it was a pleasure to meet you. And I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And give me a little bit of time today, and I will send you the video, the audio, and about 3 or 4 clips, and I will tag you in on Instagram. And if you need help with getting on TikTok or social media sites, reach out to me, and I'll do my best to try to help out.
Wonderful. Thank you again. And again, I want to say God bless you in your future endeavors and what you're doing on your show. I wish you many blessings and much success. You got it.
You too. Thank you so much, Danielle.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too. All right, guys, that concludes season 11, episode 1 with my special guest today, Danielle M Smith, a broadcast journalist and a radio personality out of Pittsburgh, PA, with WGBN 1360 AM and 98.9 FM. I want to apologize to everybody for the technical glitches with StreamYard this morning. I'm hoping to get them resolved in time for our next show. Thank you to my guests for being patient. And before we wrap this show up, guys, I did an interview with a politician, a former politician, and he is now on the Midas Touch in the States, and his name is Charlie Angus. He was a former politician, a musician, a journalist, and he's an author of 8 books. And I was able to speak to Charlie Angus on his Elbows Up and resistance tour in Guelph a couple days ago. And this is courtesy of my YouTube channel.
Other products, if we have to go in and tell Honda, General Motors, whoever, your assembly lines aren't going to shut, we're going to start to retool, and we're going to do it for Canada. That's the message we need to send, because we are in a wartime economy, and we need to start acting like it's a wartime economy.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Charlie?
Yeah.
Do you feel the Canadian boycott of the States is actually working?
The boycott of the United States has had a devastating impact on key American sectors. Kentucky, for example, suddenly realized that their number one export of Kentucky bourbons was Canada, and they lost that. So then you start to see Kentucky governors calling Donald Trump and saying, hey, back off. When you see Alaska, total MAGA realizing, wow, BC's going to put the squeeze on us. They start putting pressure on. When we have 93% drop in American wines to Canada, which is the United States' biggest market, and we see $12.3 billion in lost travel, those are hundreds of thousands of jobs. I feel bad for those people, but listen, this is a state of economic war. You threaten us, we will push back. Americans know that the boycott is not breaking. We've had many governors come up and tell us, oh, we like you, come on, let's love each other. You want to love us? You deal with the convicted criminal in the White House and tell him to stop threatening our nation. Otherwise, we're not coming back. And I don't know a single Canadian who's going to break the boycott now.
Charlie, can you just tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Midas Touch?
What happened with me was I was speaking in Parliament about the rise of authoritarianism, the rise of fascism. Ben Messiah saw it. They had my entire speech in the House of Commons, and suddenly people from around the world started calling me, sending me messages. I've been invited on multiple times. It's fascinating that I get much more coverage right now in the United States for speaking up against Trump and fascism than I actually do in Canada. Midas Touch has played a really important role because they're calling it as it is. Ordinary Canadians are following a news network out of Los Angeles, a news network that's actually doing a really good job of speaking directly to Canadians. So I've been involved with Midas Touch. They have me on a lot of the time. Some say I'm the fourth Messiah's brother. I don't know. But it's a great network to be involved with because they're not afraid to call it for what's happening.
Finally, can you tell us a little bit about your book and where can people follow you on social media and your website, Charlie?
My latest book is Dangerous Memory, Coming of Age in the Decade of Greed. It really tells us how we ended up at this moment from the 1980s on, the decisions that put us into this dystopian time. To follow me, I tell people to follow Charlie Angus on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is the best network right now in terms of we don't have to deal with the bots and the hate. I'm on Facebook, but it's getting more and more of a toxic junk pit. But if you really want to follow, it's Charlie Angus, the Resistance Substack. Every day I'm putting out essays. Every day we have people from around the world engaging, and we're building a resistance network across Canada, across the United States, and we're picking up some really interesting people around the world. So Charlie Angus, the Resistance Substack.
Finally, what makes Canada such a great country?
You have to have traveled and driven across the country to see the enormity, the beauty. And the great thing about Canada is that wherever I've gone in this country, I've always felt like I was coming home, even if I'd never been there before. The sense of decency, the sense of tolerance, the sense of welcome that we have for each other. What's really important about Canadian patriotism that we've discovered is that we don't need to wave the flag. We don't need to be jingoistic. We don't need to beat our chest. We just have to be decent neighbors. And that makes us special in the world, and the world is watching Canada. And I can tell you, I hear it again and again from people around the world. They want to be like Canada right now.
Shirley, I want to say thank you so much for coming to the Royal City Mission Church tonight, and it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Guelph is the heart of the resistance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Say to our audience.
That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, live with CDP Sports Talk. Please hit the subscribe and follow notification. That was Charlie Angus, a former politician with the NDP, on his Elbows Up and Resistance Tour that was in Guelph on Thursday. His website is charlieangus.ca, and you can follow him on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X as well. My next Guys, I got another announcement to make. My next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, is going to be on Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. with special guest Alana Rizzo, a Major League Baseball journalist, analyst, now a part of the NASN, New England Sports Network's coverage of the Boston Red Sox. And she's also the founder of Guidry's Guardian Foundation that helps with fostering and adopting dogs in the Massachusetts area as well. So if you're a huge fan of baseball, Alana Rizzo will be on our show this Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. And as we wrap up this show, guys, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Currently at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, check out a 2025 Corvette Stingray or a Corvette E-Ray. You can finance from 1.99% financing for up to 60 months. More details at BarryCullen.com or drop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Also, guys, if you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, you can check me out on cameo.com/Chris D. Palme. Just click on cameo.com, type in my name, and I'd be happy to do a personalized video message for you there as well. Speaking of social media, I am on Blue Sky Social now, at Live with CDP on Blue Sky Social. And as we wrap up this show, guys, if you're in the Cambridge area and you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are available on the website. And if you're looking to volunteer as a dog walker, like I do twice a week, go to the cambridgehumanesociety.org website and fill out their volunteer application form there as well. They do a lot of great work with the animals that are there for adoption and getting them adopted into good families and good homes as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And make sure you follow me there as well. My website, if you'd like to check out my work, is on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. They have the basic free plans or paid professional plans. And if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming, go to StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for pricing as well. And yours truly has been with StreamYard now for over 4 years. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, TuneIn, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And please make sure you hit follow and subscribe there as well. Finally, you guys can email the show Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to tip the host or buy the host a coffee, as you're a fan of my talk show and my media work, I am on PayPal, cpalme19@gmail.com, if you ever wish to tip the host or buy the host a coffee as well. And finally, you guys, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. I'm on all social media platforms, TikTok at Chris Palme. And also, I want to say thank you to my 633 YouTube subscribers. And I'm getting close to now 500,000 views on my YouTube channel as well. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Danielle M Smith, a broadcast journalist and radio personality out of Pittsburgh, PA, for coming on. And thank you, everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platform, and to Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership as well. And again, my next show is going to be Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. with Alana Rizzo, formerly of Major League Baseball Network. She is a Major League Baseball journalist, analyst, and now a part of NASN's, or New England Sports Network's, coverage of the Boston Red Sox. That'll be 10 a.m. And we're also going to talk about her company she started up, Guidry's Guardian Foundation as well. And before we wrap up the show, guys, we have CFL tonight. We have Ottawa and Calgary at 4 p.m., Winnipeg at BC at 7 p.m. And the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself will return this week. The date and time to be announced, but Nick and I are going to break down the Argos' heartbreaking 39-32 loss last week to Saskatchewan on a last-second 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Mario Alford of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who are now 3-0 on the season. And the Toronto Argonauts are now 0-3, having to go on the road next Sunday, June 29th, which is my birthday, taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks as well. So look for the Argo Bounce podcast show to return this week for season 4, episode 3 with Nick Small and myself. And Nick and I will have a lot to talk about on this upcoming Argo Bounce podcast show as well. I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Enjoy the weekend. And thanks for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph.